Coming up next on the Backroads of Montana, we'll start out on a small scale and visit a big timber resident who builds miniatures. Then hop a quick ride on a short railroad line in the mining city. We'll help clean up the highway along scenic Flathead Lake and hear recorded music the way your grandparents did during a stop in Helena. All aboard. This episode of Backroads is about to leave the station.
Well, it's beautiful with spacious skies, has amber waves of green, and has purple mountains majestic that rise up out of the plains. And all across America, from sea to shining sea, where the mountains and the prairies meet, is a place I need to be. Home is where Montana is my home. From mountain peaks to prairie lands, the places I have known. And I'm bound to ramble, yes, I'm bound to roam. And when I'm in off the road now, boys, Montana is my home.
Backroads of Montana is made possible with production support from the Greater Montana Foundation, Travel Montana, and the University of Montana, where the discovery continues.
Hello, I'm William Marcus. Welcome to the Backroads of Montana, a program about the unique people and remote places within the Treasure State. The structure behind me has long been a landmark overlooking the town of White Sulphur Springs. It's called the Castle. It was built in 1892 by stockman and miner B.R. Sherman. Today, this stone mansion is operated as a museum by the Marr County Historical Society. Throughout the show, we'll stroll the grounds and take you inside for a look at the period furnishings, including ornate Victorian furniture. Perfect. One of the museum's relics is this wooden cabinet desk, once used in the Marr County Courthouse. This desk would be of special interest to the man in our first story. He's a big timber resident who knows all about historical furniture, and he's used his special skills to turn a hobby into a truly successful small business. Next to these big mountains, there's a small town with a big name and small treasures.
It's a matter of personal pride, putting in a great deal of time and producing something that you're proud to put your name on. It's a good feeling.
Orvin Fjare works his miniature magic inside this house. It's a place where the little stuff really matters. Naturally, Orvin's workshop is the smallest room in the house. His hobby began when his wife Sigrid asked him to build a dollhouse. Orvin built this contemporary house, and the next step was to furnish it.
When we got ready for the furniture, they just don't have a lot of contemporary furniture. There's more now than there was then, but so I said, you can make it.
Orvin furnished the house, and soon he was making timepieces and musical instruments. Orvin's big breakthrough came from this incredibly complicated desk. It's called the Wooden Cabinet Secretary, originally built in the late 1800s to handle the crush of paperwork from the Industrial Revolution. It took Orvin 150 hours to build this exact scale replica, complete with working parts.
This is probably the most complicated part of it, is right here in this wing with all of these small cubby holes, and this laminated, bent, and modeled. To build those wings is probably the most complicated.
From the ornaments to the hinges, Orvin's craftsmanship earned him a big name in the miniatures world.
To be frank about it, there's a certain amount of ego involved in it. It's kind of a show business situation. You go to shows and demonstrate these items, and it certainly doesn't harm one man's ego to have it appreciated by a lot of people, and some even enough to put out quite a bit of money to purchase the pieces.
The Wooden is the most expensive desk in the Fjare collection. It costs $1,500. The Wooten Secretary is part of a series of antique desks. Another antique line is called the Desks of the Famous,
on which he actually wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Orvin says the desks are popular because each one comes with a story, and if he won't tell you about it, Sigrid can step in.
I give them the whole story, whether they want it or not, but it makes the furniture more interesting to know that Thomas Jefferson wanted something that would go in a saddlebag, or the Industrial Revolution had caused so much paperwork to be done that they had to build a desk to take care of it.
Back in the workshop, the hours pile up just as fast as the orders. There are tiny pieces of wood, cut by a tiny saw, fashioned by tiny tools, but the same rules of carpentry apply.
Always cut a piece a little bit longer than it needs to be. I think the biggest adjustment was being able to interpret or to break it down from a 1 foot to an inch scale. It's kind of like learning a new language.
Orvin admits he's a sucker for new tools, but crazy glue and double-sided tape are the two best friends of a miniatures builder. From Orvin's view, patience is an important virtue, but he says he doesn't always cut it in that department.
Everyone who looks at the miniatures that we produce say you certainly must have a great deal of patience. You have to learn to have patience, and I was not a person who had a reputation of being a very patient man. My children still have to laugh when they think that, or someone says, your father must be a very patient man. That's something that they just don't understand.
Well, I don't laugh out loud, but they do, because he is not notorious for his patience. However, he's not not terribly impatient.
It's hard to imagine Orvin not having the patience of a saint to achieve the delicate detail of this railing. It's made from brass wire and beads. These piano strings made from elastic thread, or this magnificent scale replica of the house from Gone with the Wind. In the end, Orvin says you need more than just patience to be successful in this business.
The heart to do it, as we say, the fire in your belly to make artwork out of small pieces of wood.
Before our Backroads crew left Big Timber, Orvin revealed his other hobby. He enjoys making wine, and he gave us this beautiful bottle of plum wine. Next to the castle here in White Sulphur Springs is the carriage house. It has a fine display of antique buggies and carriages, a popular form of transportation when the house was built. For as long as people have been traveling by road, one unfortunate byproduct has been roadside litter. In fact, the national average is 1,400 pieces of litter per highway mile. In the tiny town of Rawlins, near Flathead Lake, the Women of Rawlins Club, a group of retirees, have taken their war on roadside litter to the streets.
Everybody ready to go? Yes. Okay, now watch for traffic.
Yes, ma'am.
And pick up most of the stuff and come back here and we'll have coffee and donuts.
900 hours. A group of roughly 25 volunteers assembles at the Rawlins Country Store and Post Office. Their objective? The beautification of a 4-mile stretch of Highway 93 along Flathead Lake. Their sworn enemy? The discarded cans, plastic bottles, and paper, collectively known as roadside litter.
Sometimes we find things that haven't the slightest idea what they are.
Marian Emerson, today's team leader, distributes the orange safety vests, assigns partners, and issues the mileposts that each group is responsible for cleaning. Her husband John posts signs alerting motorists to today's activity. Safety is paramount.
I get a toot every once in a while for somebody, and I think that they're saying, good for you.
Out on Highway 93, the morning sun warms their efforts. Marian and her partner, Judy Rickena, work the hillside of mile marker 86, picking up anything that's not native, and a few things that are.
A Montana cowboy hat.
Moments later, Judy sacks a real-sized pair of jockey shorts. Sometimes the women are shocked at the careless waste they witness.
I wonder what this is. ick. Here's a package of cigarettes and it's mostly full. Do you think somebody all of a sudden decided to quit smoking?
Dawn and Shirley Lincoln work the lakeside of mile marker 86, just across from Judy and Marian. This is the first vigorous exercise that Dawn has had in months. A year and a half ago, he broke his back, but didn't want today's cleanup to happen without him.
I'm tired, but I'm doing fine.
As the foursome inches north, they bag everything from bottle tops to shredded tires. Harvey Nasland and Ted Rollins, whose grandfather established the town in 1893, slowly cruise through each area, collecting full sacks and larger, heavier items.
The women are generally the boss in the household anyhow, I guess, so we have to do what they tell us to do. And so here we are out here helping them on the highway.
They'll deposit the aluminum into a fund, which supports the training of service dogs.
Another one of your boyfriends.
I have many admirers because of picking up the garbage. Being a bag lady, it's kind of fun being a bag lady.
2 miles north, Edna Chick Hendriksen prefers to stab at the litter with her ski pole, and she prefers the lake side of the highway.
I like to stay on this side of the road, Gus, because there's rattlesnakes over on the right-hand side.
On at least one occasion, ticks and rattlesnakes weren't the only seasonal concern.
One of the gals who was cleaning found a bear, a live bear.
By noon, every scrap of paper has been properly bagged, and now Ted and Harvey are collecting volunteers. Everyone rendezvous at the store, celebrating their victory over litter with coffee and donuts, and discussing today's finds. A rusted pair of pliers was the only thing of any value. What's of real value is the feeling of pride they all share, knowing that their small section of Montana looks its absolute best.
As of today, the cleanest part of Montana would be the 4 miles from mile 85 to 89 on US 93. And we all end up very, very proud of our job.
If you'd like to set up a roadside cleanup group in your community, contact the State Department of Transportation in Helena. They'll help you get started with safety vests, sacks, and highway signs. The stone blocks that make up the castle were quarried in the Castle Mountains, southeast of White Sulphur Springs. A 16-ox team hauled them more than 10 miles to town. Hauling heavy loads was once the task of our next Backroads feature. For years, the Orphan Girl Express hauled copper ore out of the mines in Butte. Today, the cargo's a little lighter, but the trip is still rewarding. Got your ticket yet? Well, don't wait. The Orphan Girl Express leaves every half hour, and it's on a tight schedule.
Time to blow the whistle.
College student Jamie Godfrey spends her summer as the one-woman crew running the Orphan Girl Trammer at the World Museum of Mining in Butte.
Two?
She sells the tickets.
$2, please.
Oh boy, it's gonna break me.
Takes pictures.
All right, smile.
Board! Get your tickets ready!
Punches the tickets.
Keep it forever and ever and put it in your scrapbook.
Makes sure everyone is safely fastened in, and much, much more.
Now my name is Jamie Godfrey. I'll be your tour guide, your conductor, your engineer, your ticket taker, your everything. She's been known to buck every now and again, so hold on. Here we go.
Along the way, Jamie adds little nuggets of history on the Orphan Girl Mine, the Mining Museum, and the city of Butte.
Now this here is the entrance to Hell Roaring Gulch. Now this town has been made as a real labor of love by the people here in the area. Well, the Orphan Boy mine was here first, and he was named because he was so far away from the other mines here in the area. And when they created the Orphan Girl right next to him, she was just kind of named in sympathy. So I came to the mining museum about 2 years ago and walked around and was really interested. I really loved it. I've made the job my own in that I've added a lot of special information to the train ride, because the script they give you with is very limited, and they depend on you to learn the stuff here at the Mining Museum and add what you think is interesting. And I've done mostly that. Tried to make it interesting, add a little bit of dumb jokes and make people laugh and that kind of thing. Now, because she was shallower, her temperature stayed around 55 to 65 degrees inside. Very comfortable, especially compared to the hot boxes or sweat boxes, which could reach over 100 degrees inside.
The train averages about 20 miles per hour and makes 6 stops along the route. Jamie says she's never had the train break down, but occasionally there are some obstacles to overcome.
The worst breakdown I've had is when, well, you have to have your wheels greased, or else they squeal terrible if you go around. And one day it was raining just after I got my wheels greased, and I had to back up a couple times before I could make it over a small hill, and that was about the worst we ever had.
For Jamie, the best part of the job is being able to talk with people from all over the United States and the world.
And talking to them is just amazing, especially talking to the old miners who come back to, especially the ones who've worked at this particular mine. They come in and they tell you all about it and how they used to work with the mules or how they ran the trammers.
And there are lots of families riding the train as well.
I see the grandparents come in and they bring their grandkids to ride the train, and halfway around the grandkids are bored because they've been hearing all this stuff, and and the grandparents are just loving it. They're all just really excited and everything.
Just to ride a train is fun. I think that's a whole different thing, and also for the tour to understand a little bit more about mining in the Montana area.
Where are the Chippies?
Chippies?
Chippies. It was fun. And there was lots of neat things.
Now, when I say everything, I mean everything.
While Jamie does most of the talking during the tour, she asks for everyone's help on the home stretch.
Right, we all know I've been working on the railroad. When I take you across the road, I want y'all to sing it with me. If you don't know the words, ask your neighbor. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to tell them to you. Hold on, here we go. Are we ready? I've been working on the railroad. Whenever we go across the road, I try and make everybody sing. It gives Dottie or whoever's taking the tickets gives them a thrill to their day, I guess.
They're pretty good for not being coached other than right there.
To hear the captain cry, "Shine out below your horse." Thank y'all for riding the Orphan Girl Express.
Once back at the depot, it's back to selling more tickets.
Tell all the people in Absorki about it.
We'll do it. And loading up more passengers for the next trip on the Orphan Girl Express. Jamie says that someday she'd like to be a teacher. We know that her students will get an energetic and fun instructor. Besides the Orphan Girl Express, the World Museum of Mining in Butte has more than 22 acres of fun and educational exhibits. It's open 7 days a week from April through October. Before our final piece on this Backroad show, let's take a quick tour of the castle and the carriage house here in White Sulphur Springs. Inside the sandstone mansion are the sights and sounds of another era.
In the beginning, we had nothing to fill the house with, so requests were sent out to people for contributions of furniture or of memorabilia, from their families or from friends. And we were very successful in that, so it's actually pretty much of a history of the community itself, because we have a piece of almost everybody, every family who lived here during the time of the castle.
A 100 years ago, the sound that drifted through these windows may have been produced by a machine that for many families was the sole source of home entertainment, their wind-up phonograph. Whether it was a Columbia Eagle or a Victor floor model, they brought music and culture to many remote families. In Helena, we found a man whose passion is restoring these machines to their rightful sound.
All right, Dennis, you have a good weekend.
When Bob Maffett returns home after a hard day's work, he heads out to his garage for some well-deserved R&R, restoration and refinishing.
Here, this is a Victor 6. This was a table model, and this one is a Edison model H19. I mean, this is a tone arm. This is kind of what the tone arm looked like. This, for example, is a horn out of a cabinet. This is a bizarre machine. I'm not even that familiar with it. What's funny is you look in my garage, it's like just full of crap.
Once Bob reassembles all this stuff, he'll end up with one of these. An elegantly refinished and perfectly functioning wind-up phonograph.
I have an interest in music, a mechanical kind of interest, and I love cabinets and woodwork. So you mix all that together, and I think it kind of filled a need.
Bob is one of about 6 hobbyists in Montana who restore wind-up phonographs. Together they share repair tips, spare parts, and a passion for the first devices to play back recorded sound. Bob has restored over 75 phonographs and currently has another 60 out in the garage in various stages of repair. He'll keep about 1/3 of the machines he fixes, trading the rest for other models or rare parts.
Parts are worth more than money. You can make money, you can get money, but to get a particular part, like maybe a back bracket for a Victor 3 or something, it's much easier to trade parts.
Between 1880 and 1930, wind-up phonographs were a quick and inexpensive source of musical entertainment. Victor produced a series of affordable floor models, while the Edison Company penetrated America's rural areas. During Montana's homesteading era, dealers selling cream separators were most likely pushing phonographs, too.
And I can just imagine up in Scobie, Montana, somebody with their maybe their Edison C250, getting a couple new Edison diamond discs and opening it up and winding it up and listening to the records. For the most part, phonographs were really the only form of entertainment.
By the 1920s, wind-up phonographs couldn't compete with the popularity of radio, and the obsolete machines fell into obscurity. Most were thrown away or gutted and used as a piece of furniture. Eventually, these once treasured machines moved from the front parlor to the back porch.
A lot in Montana, you kind of laugh. I've heard stories where they would store them in the old granaries, put them out in the barn. So a lot of machines come, nowadays pretty dilapidated.
The mechanics are simple. A stylus, a needle, or a diamond rides along a record or a cylinder. Just above the stylus is a reproducer, which houses a vibrating mica diaphragm. That's attached to an internal or external horn, which amplifies the sound. All of this is driven by a spring-powered motor and a governor, which maintains a constant speed as the spring unwinds. Regulating the volume is as simple as opening or closing the doors. Whether he's repairing a Victor orthophonic or a Columbia graphanola, Bob welcomes each new challenge. But it's the rugged durability of the Edison machines that give him the greatest satisfaction.
Edison, he made his machines to last forever. I always make the joke on some of these Edison machines, I know them so well and they're designed so well I could work on them with my eyes closed.
In a sense, Bob fixes all of his machines with his eyes closed.
I'm totally blind and have been probably since I've been about 18 years old. In all honesty, what I've done is I've not allowed my blindness to occupy a disproportionate piece in my life. I think if you do that, then it limits you. I haven't let it get in the way. I just decide what I want to do, and for the most part, go ahead and learn how to do it.
Bob relies on his sense of touch to locate problems. He sequences his actions, creating pictures in his mind of where tools and loose parts are. His wife Joanne or one of his 3 daughters will admit that no obstacle hinders his passion for phonographs.
I think it's cool that my dad can repair all these, and he also lets us help in sometimes.
I remember a great time with Allie. I was repairing a spring, and to work on the spring you have to heat it up, so I had this blowtorch, and Joanne doesn't really like me messing with the blowtorch by myself, figuring I'll probably start my bench on fire. So one sunny afternoon, Allie had come home from school, and I grabbed her, and we were out on the apron of the driveway, and I was holding the spring with my vice grips, and old Allie's out there just got the old torch just heating this thing up red hot, and I was, while we were doing it, I was thinking that, boy, the neighbors must think this is a pretty wild place over here. Got a kid with a blowtorch and a blind guy out there, but...
This afternoon, Bob is removing the motor of an Edison Amberola 30. Inside is 17 feet of tightly coiled steel spring. If the Edison breaks when fully wound, the resulting release of energy can cause personal injury or even set the workbench on fire. It's a tense moment.
There's nothing holding that motor to keep it from unwinding. So if it's wound up, it's going to come flying out of there. There we go. It was fine. No disaster. Sorry, guys.
With minor catastrophe averted, Bob retreats to the warmth of his basement workshop, a warehouse of period music recorded on old 78s, diamond discs, wax cylinders, and picture records. Once Bob selects the correct music, he can finally enjoy some real R&R, confident that his phonographs operate the way they were designed to, hearing their music just as it sounded so long ago.
Quite frankly, there's nothing better than getting an old Fats Waller, ain't misbehaving, throw it on an old Victrola, wind it up, sit back, open the doors, and listen to it, and it sounds just like what someone would have heard it in 1929. Nothing better than that, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe that and a beer with it.
Well, that's our show. If you're traveling to White Sulphur Springs and would like a tour of the castle, it's open from May 15th through September 15th. The hours are 10 to 6 o'clock daily. And a tour of our old Backroads episodes is as easy as a trip to your local city-county library. And if you know of any interesting people or places we should feature in our next Backroads program, just drop us a line at the Backroads of Montana, the University of Montana, Missoula, Montana, 59812. As long as you keep watching, we'll keep covering the Backroads of Montana. I'm William Marcus. See you next time. To order a copy of this program, send $25 to Backroads of Montana, University of Montana, Missoula, Montana, 59812. Or use your credit card at 1-800-227-5836. For more information about Backroads, visit our website at montanapbs.org.
Backroads of Montana is made possible with production support from the Greater Montana Foundation, Travel Montana, and the University of Montana, where the discovery continues.
Home is where Montana is my home. From mountain peaks to prairie lands, the places I have known. And I'm bound to ramble, yes, I'm bound to roam. And when I'm in off the road now, boys, Montana is my home. Coming in off the road now, boys, you know I'm heading home.